There is a side of you that you hope no one ever sees. Not because it is evil, not because it is monstrous, but because if you truly faced it, everything you believe about yourself would begin to crack. The most dangerous person in your life may not be your enemy. It may not be the liar, the betrayer, or the manipulator. It may be the version of yourself you spend every day trying to ignore. Most people go through life believing they know who they are. They point to their kindness, their values, their discipline, their good intentions. They build an identity around the parts of themselves they are proud of. But beneath that carefully crafted image lives something else, something hidden, something uncomfortable, something powerful. Carl Jung called it the shadow. And according to Jung, the parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge do not disappear. They grow in the dark. Think about it. Why do certain people trigger you so deeply? Why does someone else's success sometimes make you uncomfortable? Why do you occasionally feel anger that seems far bigger than the situation deserves? Why do you secretly judge traits in others that you claim to hate? The answer may not be what you think, because what we reject in ourselves often appears in our perception of others. The traits we cannot accept within ourselves become the traits we obsessively notice in the people around us. The person who constantly accuses others of being selfish may be hiding selfish desires they refuse to admit. The person who endlessly talks about honesty may secretly fear their own capacity to deceive. The person who appears calm and gentle all the time may be suppressing enormous amounts of rage. And the more these parts are denied, the stronger they become. This is the hidden truth most people never realize. Your darkness does not disappear because you ignore it. It gains power. Imagine a pressure cooker with no release valve. Every fear, every resentment, every jealous thought, every selfish impulse gets pushed deeper and deeper into the unconscious mind. Eventually, something happens. The pressure finds a way out. Sometimes it appears as explosive anger, sometimes as bitterness, sometimes as manipulation, sometimes as self-destruction, and often the person experiencing it has no idea where it came from. They believe it happened suddenly, but it didn't. It was growing for years. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they are either good or bad. Life is not that simple. Human beings are complicated. Inside every kind person exists the capacity for cruelty. Inside every honest person exists the capacity for deception. Inside every peaceful person exists the capacity for violence. And inside every strong person exists weakness. This reality makes people uncomfortable, but denying it makes you dangerous, because when you believe you are incapable of darkness, you stop paying attention to it. And what you don't pay attention to begins controlling you. Have you ever noticed how some people completely lose control during conflict? A small disagreement suddenly turns into an emotional explosion. Words are said that can never be taken back. Relationships are destroyed in minutes. What happened? The shadow happened. Years of buried emotions finally found an opening. The darkness that was ignored became impossible to contain. Jung believed that true maturity is not becoming perfect. It is becoming aware. It is learning to see the parts of yourself you would rather avoid. The jealousy, the pride, the need for control, the hunger for validation, the desire for revenge, the fear of being insignificant. These emotions exist whether you acknowledge them or not. The only question is whether they control your life from the shadows or whether you confront them directly. And this is where things become even more uncomfortable, because your shadow is not only made of negative traits. Sometimes your greatest strengths are hidden there too. Many people suppress confidence because they fear being judged. They suppress ambition because they fear standing out. They suppress leadership because they fear responsibility. Over time, these strengths become buried alongside their weaknesses. They become smaller versions of themselves, safer, more acceptable, more predictable, but less alive. This is why some people feel trapped even when life seems fine from the outside. Deep down, parts of them are dying from neglect. The world sees their smile, but inside there is frustration. The world sees politeness, but inside there is resentment. The world sees stability, but inside there is emptiness, because they have spent years becoming who others wanted them to be instead of discovering who they truly are. The shadow often contains everything society taught you to reject: your anger, your desire, your power, your individuality, your hunger to be more. And if you spend your life suppressing those parts, you lose access to enormous amounts of energy. This explains why some people seem lifeless, while others seem magnetic. The magnetic people are not necessarily better. They are simply more integrated. They know who they are. They are not pretending to be perfect. They have looked into their darkness and learned from it. They understand their weaknesses. They understand their impulses. They understand what they are capable of. And because of that awareness, they are harder to manipulate, harder to deceive, harder to control. The most dangerous person is not the one who knows they have flaws. The most dangerous person is the one convinced they have none. History has shown this repeatedly. People who believe they are completely righteous often justify terrible actions. People who see themselves as heroes sometimes become villains without realizing it. Why? Because they never questioned themselves. They never confronted the darkness within. They became blind to their own motivations. And blindness is always dangerous. But awareness creates freedom. When you recognize your jealousy, it loses power. When you recognize your anger, it becomes manageable. When you recognize your insecurities, they stop secretly controlling your decisions. Awareness does not eliminate darkness. It transforms your relationship with it. You stop being its prisoner. You become its observer. This is one of the hardest lessons in life. Most people spend years trying to appear strong. Few spend time understanding their weakness. Most people spend years building an image. Few spend time discovering what lies beneath it. Most people want approval. Very few want truth. Because truth is uncomfortable. Truth destroys illusions. Truth forces you to admit things about yourself you may not want to see. Maybe you're more selfish than you thought. Maybe you care more about status than you admit. Maybe your kindness sometimes comes from a desire to be liked. Maybe your confidence is hiding insecurity. Maybe your anger is hiding pain. These realizations are painful, but they are also liberating. Because the moment you see the truth, you gain the power to change. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. And that is why self-awareness is one of the greatest forms of power. Not power over other people, power over yourself. The kind of power that remains when circumstances become difficult. The kind of power that survives betrayal. The kind of power that remains calm when others lose control. The world teaches people to look outward, to blame, to criticize, to compare, to judge. But Jung pointed in a different direction. He pointed inward, toward the uncomfortable truths hidden beneath the surface. Toward the parts of ourselves we spend our lives avoiding, because the battle that matters most is not happening out there. It is happening inside you. Every day, every decision, every reaction, every relationship, there is a constant struggle between awareness and denial, between truth and illusion, between growth and comfort. And the outcome of that struggle shapes your entire life. The people who grow are not the people who avoid darkness. They are the people who face it. The people who become wise are not those who pretend to be perfect. They are those who understand their imperfections. The people who become truly strong are not those who suppress their shadow. They are those who integrate it. Because strength is not the absence of darkness. Strength is knowing it exists and refusing to let it control you. The dark side of your personality is not your enemy. Ignoring it is, and perhaps the greatest tragedy, is not having darkness within you. Every human being does. The tragedy is spending your entire life running from it. The hidden truth is that the parts of yourself you fear most may contain the lessons you need most. The answers you seek may be hiding in the places you avoid. And the person you're capable of becoming may be waiting on the other side of the truths you refuse to face. So the next time someone triggers you, the next time anger rises, the next time jealousy appears, the next time you feel the urge to blame the world, pause, look inward. Ask yourself what part of you is trying to be seen, because the shadow never disappears. It waits. And the longer you ignore it, the louder it becomes. But the moment you face it, understand it, and accept it, it stops being your prison
and becomes your greatest source of power.